May I request Shri A.B. Agarwal to please come. Please give a big hand to Chairman Bhakra Bias Management Board. May I also request Shri S.C. Sharma, who is President Hydro, who is with us, and he spent about 4 decades in the sector and also was responsible for success of Tehri. Please give him a big hand. And we just saw none other than Giri Saab. I am not going to allow him to even sit for a minute out there. He has to come on the dais. Please come, Awadh B. Giriji. And may I request my very good friend and Shri T.C. Arora Saab to please come over on the dais. Arora Saab, please give him a big hand. Arora Saab was responsible for the success of Toshiba. Whatever you see Toshiba in India is thanks to his work for 2 decades for them, and he's advising them even today. May I request the Secretary, CBIP, and a person whom I respect a lot, Shri V.K. Kanjlia, please, sir. May I also request there. So please, sir, Dharmadhikari Saab, I think in the private sector, we do not have a persona of his caliber, and we must give him a big hand. Today is a very important day for all of us. And today was the day when, what I thought was that we must award this sector, very specifically the hydro sector. We have people from the NHPC today, an organization which I must clearly say that it is just being given a raw treatment by not having a chairman and MD for the last 4 years. You can't demoralize an organization beyond this, So these are the issues as well, which I believe that I will be writing over the next 1 week to the Prime Minister. I've already written about Subanshree, and I understand that action is being taken, because I wrote that it is the Taj Mahal of India, It is the Taj Mahal of the hydro projects in India. So usko revive karna hai. Prasad साहब भी हमेशा बोलते रहते हैं सुभानश्री को करना चाहिए, उनके समय से आया हुआ है. अग्रवाल साहब भी मानेंगे इस चीज को. बिल्कुल सही है. तो ये हालात है तो देश के कि इतने बड़े प्रोजेक्ट को हम इसको ऐसे डब्बे पे डाल के नहीं रख सकते. बढ़िया. तो anyway, these are the things, and I think the signs are there that it will be revived. At least Subanshree. In fact, I wrote that we should come back to Lohari Nagpala, which was a major mistake by this country, that it shelved the project. And I remember that day when our great Chief Minister today, Prithviraj Chavan of Maharashtra, he was on the floor of the Parliament, and it was the debate on the nuclear deal, where we were trying to please the United States to get the 123 agreement passed and all those things. And that was a tough time for India. And it's funny thing, to pass the nuclear deal, the hydro projects were killed. How? The floor of the Parliament, debate is happening, and Manmohan Singh is fighting for his life, and his government in the voting that happened at that point of time. This is UPA 1 I am talking about, the end phase. Nuclear deal issue was taken in the Parliament. That was the risk, and voting was going on. And on the floor of the Parliament, Prithviraj Chavan famously says, "Sir, we are not anti-people. We have ensured that we have shelved the project called Lohari Nagpala." Can you believe, after spending 2,000 to 3,000 crores, a minister makes such an irresponsible statement? And he is getting his dues in Maharashtra for sure. Now, I feel that we should openly criticize these people, and we should call a spade a spade. Jo Prasad Saab keh rahe hain, I agree. Time has come not to leave anybody, because jo galat hai, wo galat hai. Whoever is destroying the spirit of India, on this side we have a positive Prime Minister in Narendra Modi Saab, but I think at some point of time, a positive Prime Minister, if some people try to mislead him or send him wrong information, it is the duty of all of us professionals to send documents to him which tell the truth. And I have seen one thing. This gentleman is great. He has been acting on whatever information he gets. And in fact, we have Narmada people with us. I don't see him. Dr. U.C. Jain? Ah, sir. Jain Saab hai. Jain Saab is evidence to what inertia did for all these years. So before we start, I feel, can I have the lighting of the lamp? a wonderful day today. Now, I always come up with this GDP issues, and just I was watching, a World Bank report, which actually said that India has come to a third position in purchasing power parity terms on GDP. Because there are two measures of GDP, which is what we call the general measure or standard norm of measuring GDP, which is factor GDP, where we actually do the actual earnings of I would say an economy. That means the total goods and services produced within the economy. And if you add the exports earnings, if they are nominal, then we still call it GDP in common parlance, but it's GNP, gross national product. So I will not get into whether it's GDP or GNP, but predominantly it is referred, and media has a tendency to talk about everything as a GDP only. So seeing that as a benchmark, there is a nominal GDP, which is a general way of calculation, where countries, India would literally fall in the 10th place as per both World Bank and IMF. It is 10th. But when you look at the purchasing power parity based GDP, then India comes to a third position. This was a very recent report in June that came up. So I was just trying to see in actual terms what is, because I said let us forget purchasing power parity. Let us see three countries which are going to be looked at by the entire world at this point of time, and it happens to be US, India and China. People are watching this because the size, literally, I'm not saying anything, there are 200 odd countries, each one has a responsibility towards the planet and to everybody, especially even to generate green, clean energy, provide its citizens good living, provide everybody water, provide everybody resources, responsible for everybody. But yes, some responsibility will fall on some big guys at the end of the day. And I think in time has come, India will take the responsibility. So I put it as India, China and US. So looking at that, I saw certain figures, and how much is the GDP kind of model, how much is the population, because the whole thing is GDP, population, and then what is their situation of installed capacity. In these terms, if you look at it, India currently has 250 gigawatt of installed capacity. It just crossed the 250 gigawatt at this point of time, of which roughly 41 gigawatt is hydro. प्रसाद साहब कैन करेक्ट मी, वो 40 भी हो सकता है, 41 भी हो सकता है, पर फिगर तो हमारे ही आ रहे हैं वो, हाँ 40 मान लेते हैं उसको. Then comes the next one is basically, if you look at this United States, it is producing somewhere near 1247 gigawatt. It is producing roughly 1247 gigawatt, if I'm not mistaken. No, sorry, 1247 gigawatt is China. I'm very sorry. China is the highest. 1247 is China. This is very interesting. China is producing 1247 gigawatt. India was 250 gigawatt. And that of United States came to 1150 gigawatt. That means on the energy terms, now I'll come to the GDP terms later, but energy terms, China is number one. And installed capacity of United States become number two. India is way behind, 250, as I told you, but then forms as the number 3 economy and PPP terms. See, funny thing, right? But yes, let us look at the whole thing. The picture changes drastically as we go along, Then I said, what is the population of these countries? US was coming to roughly 32 crores. That means you clearly know it. We're talking of less 0.32 billion population. India was coming to 125 crores, 1.25 billion. China was 136 roughly, so 1.36 billion. So people graph is clear, right? Now comes the GDP graph. How much GDP is produced? I wanted to know how much GDP is produced per 1,000 people, and per crore people. How much GDP generated per 1 crore of population, and per 1 crore of population, how much is installed capacity? Because we have to come to a benchmark of 10 million people. 1 crore is 10 million for people who do not understand the crore business of India. So it is 10 million, So I would say for 10 million, for per 10 million, how much is the measure of both this? So it was very interesting figure that came up, I saw that India is producing 2000 megawatt of electricity per 1 crore population, right? 2000 megawatt, or we can say 2000 megawatt of installed capacity. We're not producing, but capability of producing available for 1 crore of population. And this typically translates, if you look at it in GDP terms, what we are producing is we are producing something like, because our GDP is roughly in the area of $2 trillion US. So when we calculate that simply, it comes to $16 billion of GDP generation per 1 crore population for an availability of 2000 megawatt for that 1 crore population. And I repeat in million terms, for every 10 million people that you are serving, you have a 2000 megawatt of availability. And India is producing roughly 8 billion, not 16, 8 billion US dollars. India is producing $8 billion. That is the situation for India. So that is what we are producing, right? Now comes to US. I wanted to see the figures of US. So it's very important. Immediately we have to see US, because always benchmark of democracy to democracy is very interesting. You know, the same situation. So figures came to, because US is roughly, the GDP is 16.25 to 16.3 trillion US dollars. So see, India is 2 trillion, almost 8 times in pure GDP terms it is there. But when we look at the population graph, for 10 million people, there is 1 crore people. US has availability of 36,000 megawatt. What I told you is India's availability of electricity is 2,000 megawatt and US is 36,000 megawatt. So $16 trillion GDP, when we convert all of this, we see what they are producing per 1 crore population, right? Is massive, 516 billion US dollar. That is the contribution per crore. Per crore, that is the contribution. Now, in GDP terms, if you divide by megawatt, because I am seeing how much you are producing. See, what I am doing with these figures is very interesting. 516 billion if only 1 crore population. But when you see availability of electricity, which is the 36,000 megawatt, and when I divide it further with that, when I make this figure look like 1 crore per, I would say 1 crore per unit of gigawatt, how much is the GDP generated? I am very clear. I am saying per 10 million people, per gigawatt of energy, what will be the figure coming to? Interesting. It comes down to 14.3 trillion. Sorry, 14.3 billion. So this is the interesting figure. 14.3 billion GDP per gigawatt per 1 crore population. I repeat, for India, I have to correct. It is 8 billion per crore per gigawatt, or per gigawatt per crore. If I look at, so this figure is, US is almost like 6 to 7 billion ahead in terms of a graphical representation of generation and population, you know. So that means they are almost double the more efficient when you look at it in this way. But what is China now? Why I brought China at the last is to make it interesting, because to make you understand what is happening. You know, we talk a lot about China. All of us discuss China. Even I many times say we have to match them in many ways, but it's important to look at the energy efficiency picture of China as well. So China is, I told you, 1247 gigawatt. It has 136 crores people, that means 1.36 billion population. So what is happening in a direct measure, they have an availability of 9169 megawatt per 1 crore of population. And in terms of GDP, it becomes 66 billion per 1 crore population. But now I structure the figure in the way I structured for the others. That is, per gigawatt, per billion, what do you produce? So when I do this per gigawatt per billion, I come to the figure of 7.2 billion of GDP for China per unit gigawatt of electricity available or installed, or whatever you can call, if theoretically produced, per 1 crore population. So in this analysis, it's pretty clear in the train that you look at the population, look at your installed capacity availability for per 10 million people, and look at the GDP factor indication. So somewhere, because I was trying to go away from, see, one of the best things that has happened with Modi Sahib is always doing some new thing. And I like this, which I have always loved. You know, you have to see things differently. Like yesterday, the most interesting thing he said is FDI. Everybody will say foreign direct investment. But he gave a new concept to it. He said, first develop India. So I like this kind of a thing. And he went to Bhutan. Hit was very different, no? Hit was very different. Highways, infraways, Nepal, sorry. Highways, infraways, transways. So every time he comes up with a concept, which if you go inside and deep, you see that you get a result out of it, right? So yesterday's concept was very good on FDI. So if you look at that, then we should twist this also, the concept, very interestingly, what we do. And it is real. It is not a twist. It is a real thought. What is happening? How people are walking into this train. And one of the reasons for yesterday's meeting, it was not, see, many people would have come, they would have seen, and today we know that Times Square yesterday, it got paid off 1.2 times because people paid so much money that US had to not fund anything. In fact, US got money in yesterday's Modi movement inside the United States. Huh? That means Obama had to fight for every dollar and canvass for every fund. Modi Sahib did not canvass. He entered, he got all these funds, you know. So even US does not have to spend. US gets money because Modi is entering. So Lakshmi Sati aa rahi hai unke. The fact of life. So coming to the other side of the story, I am saying if you look at this, this is what he was telling yesterday about employment generation, getting into manufacturing, because if you see, biggest consumption of energy happens when there is industrialization. The old-fashioned rule. If you see the percentage today of manufacturing contribution in India, it is just not comparable, because China's contributes 32% of its GDP from the manufacturing sector. India is in a pathetic 12% situation, which is the worst that we have reached. You know, it's the lowest level last year that we saw, and we were leaders of manufacturing. Today also, if Hetal can actually help me out, the exports from engineering are still the highest, and I think then comes diamond and then comes textile, if I am right. You know, so we still are the best engineering exports. Our contribution to exports come from engineering. The trended indicator is right there. So I think right step taken. But there are a lot of problems in manufacturing, because we have to structure a lot of things. We have to change the labor laws, because it cannot be old that people strike. You know, now people cannot do all these things. People have to ensure that they go and work. Owners and workers will have to spend time together to produce results, you know, everywhere in the world. So the economic indicators have changed. This whole idea of conflict has to collapse. People have to work in collaborative efforts. So we have a great Prime Minister, luckily, who will probably move further. Of course, all of us are also asking, अच्छे दिन कब आ रहे हैं? क्योंकि everybody is waiting for the अच्छा दिन, good days. But world economy was in doldrums. Indian economy was in shambles because of bad governance over the last decade, which I think my foreign friend, one of them is sitting here, but I have no worry in saying that is very badly managed economy. Yeah. Yeah, right. And at the other end, you know, I feel, you know, not only badly managed, we have a major issue. It is not over. You know, those forces are they've just gone out of power, but they're highly active, because they cannot see things moving in the right way. So they are working overtime with all their skills and management, and it is a situation, I can assure you, that will need deft, I would say, handling. Will need a lot of intelligence. It needs much more skills than on the grassroots. You know, we have our babus, you know, the IAS officers, who have to ensure that they work for the country. I'm sorry, I have rewarded IAS officers. Some of them are my finest friends, but they themselves say that it is so much of dirt. I don't want to quote who are saying this. So much of dirt inside that 80% have become subservience to a class called the population, who is a politician. And the common man is just struggling, you know. Today, I will be actually exposing one issue which will actually be a devastating situation. I didn't want to make it too public, because people will see my video and they will get after it. I don't go after my friends from CNN. I gave them enough time, you know, but they don't have any time for the country. You know, that's why Modi ji ensured that none of them catches that flight which he takes. Earlier government, everybody was walking into that aircraft, and these media fellows will fly. You know, now they have to go with their own money, so they can cover that. So coming back, I feel we are at a situation where, if you see these three analyses that I gave you, India is in a pretty good situation in terms of use of energy and resources. It is not a bad shape when we look at India's energy usage pattern. But what is happening? What is the catch here in that entire thing? The catch is you're not making electricity available to people. That is the catch. That means if you had made that much of electricity, now will come to water, it will come to infrastructure. You know, you can go on graphically into the other areas. But indicator starts from the energy sector. And one of the prime reasons for this is today's people who have come here, the hydro sector. We all know that just 2 days back, all the coal deals have been cancelled in this country. The Supreme Court has literally said no to it. And I can assure you that you can take another nice cooling period of 1 year before things start. So coal, we can just write an obituary for some time. And banks are already, I saw that there was big halla. Bankers are already watching how much NPA they have to handle. Now, that is their challenge. The challenge is not about building more power capacity. Or the problem is not about that. Problem is, how do I save myself? save my skin, save my everything. How do I tackle? So they will be all busy. Reserve Bank of India will also be busy. They will not be. We have written letters to them. Now we are sending another paper for providing low interest capital, either through loan or through other kind of debt or bond funds for the power sector. Because especially green energy, we are saying the interest rate should be in the region of 5 to 7%, at least over a period of 3 to 4 years to finance certain projects, and then that moratorium can go. It is a challenge. But whether Mr. Raghuram Rajan will look at fiscal deficits constantly, because it is a very crazy situation. They are all very worried about fiscal deficit because some other countries will tell you, you have very high fiscal deficit, you come in, bring it down, then we will make an investment. So whether we will go in that direction, because that is, I tell you, it is a very crazy scene. If you see the experience of last 20 years, I'm very sorry to say, US own position on all these issues has not helped because they are incapable of changing the trade pattern, because you have a current account deficit and a capital account deficit or surplus. If you are surplus on one side, the deficit will arrive on the other side, because it is a balancing situation. These two equations have to be different. If you have a surplus on one end, there has to be a deficit on the other end. So if India has a, I would say, a current account surplus with any country, we'll see a capital account reversal in that region. So this is the normal law of economics. But hard reality, if you see, for example, look at US. US investments in India have been very, very poor and meager. In fact, the biggest investor in India has been Germany for all these years. So when we take up all that graph of the investment from other economies into India, now it is Japan. Japan is becoming big. So we are not seeing US investment. And Mr. Obama came last time, and he came here and told Manmohan Singh that he wants to secure 50,000 jobs. And Manmohan Singh was very happy giving him 50,000 jobs. Right? And in an economy of 125 crore people, that means 1.25 billion people, India produces roughly 2.5 lakh engineers. Yeah, and I'm talking of the big ones. I'm not talking of all the other colleges. We're just talking of the IITs, NITs, and see, we will talk about the La Creme de la Creme. Of course, the others, many colleges, I don't want to even talk about them, but that's fine. Then the second one is management graduates. So many MBA schools are there. Okay, if the top MBA schools are taken, you can add another 1.5 lakhs, so 4 lakhs are here, right? And then you add the commerce graduate, the other graduates and everything. I found that average we are going to have an inflow into the economy between 8 to 10 lakh people ready to have a job. I will tell you the intake situation at this point. The absorption capability is barely 1.5 lakhs per annum. You know, so you are constantly creating a deficit over the next 10 years in India of a classical employment situation of 8.5 lakh to 10 lakh people per annum not getting deployed. I'm not saying employed, which the government says that 150 days of employment to be provided. Now, if you look at this whole thing, it is a big messy situation. I still do not know if our Honorable Prime Minister, anybody has given this indicator to him. So, flip side of the argument is, if spruces up the manufacturing sector through Make in India model, suppose in 5 years it arrives. I'm conservative. I'm not saying 2 दिन में कुछ नहीं होगा. 2 days nothing will happen. This is an announcement, path will take, and at the end of it, tenure, some result will be coming. 4 years में, I think the result will be coming. So if that comes, that time we'll come to an absorption level probably of 50% of that. That means 5 to 6 lakhs. Still, if it happens, we are still keeping 5 lakh people out of the jobs. I'm very sure about it. There is only long-term proposition. Unless if a person like Modi after his success remains for another 5 years, then there is a hope. But if it's like Vajpayee Saab, then after 5 years there is some new khichdi, some collaborative stuff that comes and says other things to India. We again are to square one. I can assure you this happened, in the past. So it's the responsibility of India's population to give stable government, as they have given now clear mandate, because democracies, while they are great, they have also a problem that they don't stabilize themselves. They see short-term gains. We are not seeing long-term gains, and I don't blame population. The education to be given to the population is not there. It is important to give education to the population, because unless we give education to the population, we are making a blunder. If we don't explain to them what are the problems, then we are making a blunder. If we don't go and canvas. One of the weakness in India is we do everything, but we are poor marketers. So the success of a person like Narendra Modi is a great marketer of his ideas and what he's doing, and demonstrates it. On the grassroots also, you can go and see in Gujarat, wherever he has done great work, it is demonstrable, right? So that has to be multiplied in other states now. So from that angle, unless we do this, I'm saying we are staring at a big time unemployment, and I started with United States. I cannot imagine a country. I am seeing that people are telling our Honorable Prime Minister that he should go and speak there to secure 2.5 lakh American jobs. I want to tell Mr. Obama that that is no big deal. You create 25 crore jobs in India, 2.5 crore jobs in India, you will get your 2.5 lakh jobs. 25 million jobs created in India will easily employ automatically. It is like a rocket stage, that Mars thing which went, to achieve your orbital velocity, you will get your last straw, don't worry, it will be designed. So instead of securing the job of an American who is quite rich, by plane, I am not even, if I come to per capita calculation, there is no comparison. I think it is important to secure the job of an Indian, the job of people from Libya, the jobs of people from Sudan. Let us look at that. You say, no, we cannot do anything with them. That is not going to work. You have to find a way. Now the United Nations is meeting. I hope they are able to discuss all these things. I do not know how many world leaders are going to discuss. I am very clear that our close friend Pakistan will be obsessed with Kashmir issue, K factor. And while they are, it is not only cancer, I think they have some other disease now, where they are unable to manage themselves. I don't know whether this nation will exist on the map, the way they are going. They have to look internally. Today morning, there's a good discussion on the Times channel, in which two eminent gentlemen said that India is right. They're so obsessed, and they want to internationalize. What internationalize? If I tell you one leader comes up in India and says, to hell with you, militarily there is no scope for you. What are you talking? Kashmir is not an international issue. It is 100% our thing. We have to just do a clinical strike in your Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Modi Sahib is decent enough not to tell you this. But hard reality, this is it. And we have to guard our stuff. Today all our hydro projects are there in that region. See, the Uri, the Nimu Bazgu, and all these projects are in Jammu and Kashmir. All started by Yogendra Prasad ji. And Arunachal, I tell you, Arunachal is not an issue of India and China. Arunachal is a clear issue of attempting to grab 1,50,000 megawatt of hydro resources. This is the story coming up in inertia. 1,50,000, not 50. So the real potential is that. Actually, आपने assessed percent potential 50 बोल दिए or 60. That is, if you done it, you would have seen it's 2 decades old. Now, that is also 2 decades old. If you see, the whole picture is we have taken it back. See, actual resource that, and I am not even talking of the coal that is lying in Arunachal, Meghalaya, and all that eastern hills, so which we are not going to look at, because we are, frankly spoken, coal will lie everywhere, and I do not think that India as a country with its democracy is capable of handling the coal issues so quickly. So I think let's stick to hydro, which is definitely doable, which is long term. And recently in Bhutan, I spoke on an idea called asset quality. Now, asset quality, look at it. All the hydro assets, the average life, I will call it shelf life. People call it life cycle and everything. So, asset shelf life. This asset quality and its life cycle is linked. Any asset quality is how long I can keep. If I buy a car, I want to see from all angles, whether Euro 3, Euro 5, Euro 7, how long can I keep this car? So the length of the time I can operate that car, everybody will give me a good design. A General Motors will give me a good car, Ford will give me, my own Maruti will give me a good car. But I want to see how long I can keep this asset in less deteriorating conditions. Even I apply depreciation, everything, it still is no more waste or junk. So if you look at asset quality, hydropower, 75 years to 100 years, we can operate. Easily we can operate with revamp, refurbishment. Best example is the 50 years covered by Bhakra Vyas, right? It was a project built during Jawaharlal Nehru's time. Absolutely, sir. He thought, that time he said temples of India, right? Modern temple. Absolutely. So it was very interesting. So nobody followed what he said, because after that every hydro project was killed. Probably after 1 decade of Jawaharlal Nehru's work, I think after that there was not much hydro that was moving. It was only controversies that started in this country on hydro projects. And still we had fantastic people like Yogendra Prasad ji, who led it, He is the architect of hydropower in modern India. You know, we must really, I was writing this thing on Vishweshwaraji on the 15th September. That day I was writing about people at the bottom that after Vishweshwaraya who all came. So as engineers, not only hydro but I saw other areas also. So Sridharan Saab ka naam aaya for this. Then Tata Rao, his name came. Then little bit I saw two CMDs who did great work, although they did not construct but they were great. Dr. V. Krishnamurthy, Dr. D.V. Kapoor, both of them founders of NHPC and NTPC, sorry, and BHEL. So, and then immediately Yogendra Prasad's name at the top, because when we have tried to see what happened, I think he took decisions, he took risks, sometimes of absolutely national interest and personal risk, if I say it that way. So it is crazy. So, but all these projects came up. The funny part is they came up and the country benefited. Now everybody says somebody else will sign. And then I've seen this file notings, you know, in the, one director will write one note, another director will send another note. It is only noting and noting and noting. Decision is not being made finally. If decisions are not made, people are only writing and so much scared of vigilance. I am telling my friends, the vigilance is same 20, 30 years back, 40 years back. Vigilance is same now. Even Prasad साहब के टाइम पे भी सर विजिलेंस था ना सर, बिल्कुल ऐसे ही था, कोई फर्क नहीं था. Attitudinal shift has to happen because they did not care about, because if you are not doing anything wrong, why should be bothered about vigilance? So now everybody is coming and saying, no, I don't want to take this decision. This is also not a fair situation because vigilance will be there, auditors will be there, you have to do your job. And this fear factor and using that as an alibi not to function is a dangerous trend in many places in government. So this is also a very major issue that is going to be, I would say it is going to be a batonore for us. It's going to be something which we have to tackle quickly. And if we don't do it, forget hydropower sector, that will anyway suffer forever. But no other sector will also move, sir. In general, the power sector itself will be destroyed and many areas of the country's economy will face trouble. So I feel while we have a great opportunity, here is a great leadership that has emerged, thanks to us only who have voted. But now we have to really together somewhere, the common mass has to wake up and together, when I say common mass, it's not only people who come in rallies, you know, it is also people who come for us in the hydro sector, people who come together like today's meeting, you know, where we say, oh, we are very limited people, but we are limited people, we must come. We must come and hold hand and try to help each other, you know, so that we can send our voice to the most powerful place. And then Prasad Saab has been tweeting and we have retweeted many of his tweets. In fact, I wrote literally a letter which I shared with him to the Honorable Prime Minister saying he should call him straight away to discuss hydropower issues. You know, what you hear absolutely somebody is constructively critical, you have him and you have your solutions. I'll give you one result. The positiveness of this government, I must tell you. 22nd August, in fact, in your, that entire files, you have my magazine, Inertia issue. In that, we have a story about that. The Honorable Minister of Power, Piyush Goyal, called for a meeting on solar on 22nd. I have been also working on the solar issues in a big way. I was there in the meeting. I was representing my association, Renewable Energy, not as a media man at that point of time, but of course, unfortunately, it is like, you know, I'm inside, so I'm a media man also when I go in. So I was the president of REPA. I missed Hetal Bhai because he went through a personal crisis because he lost his father, so he could not attend that meeting. And in that meeting, there were some 8 or 10 presentations, including talk about the Gujarat Solar Park, which we have rewarded. You know, it's the best project in the whole of Asia, right? All this happened and some companies made presentation. I objected in a public that entire area of the New Delhi Municipal Corporation Convention Center was full. It was up to the brim because of public-private interaction. I stood up and said, sir, these are interested parties, right? I said, here we are sitting as association on the front. I was sitting on that side. I said, the fellows who come to make presentation, I don't want to name the companies. I said, they're all big daddies of India. I said, interested parties. I said, whatever they are saying, what they have done this, each one has come and he has canvassed for himself. Minister was immediately very angry because he told the other guy, कि भाई ये क्या हो रहा है? You know, what is happening? Why this gentleman is complaining? Why we have done this? So they were all red-faced. Many people did not like, because no lobby will like my way, right? Because they are all mafias of associations out there also, who must have sent their stooges up there. So RIPA was different. Renewable Energy Promotion Association business is different. It works with think tank model. So it goes in a different way, and I am very vocal on these issues. Minister said, nahi, we need to make this gentleman speak immediately after this is over. And he said to everybody, keep it brief. Everybody was given 2 minutes. All the fellows on the dais were given 2 minutes. Watch that, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They went quickly. And once the minister is saying everybody has to go quickly, no? Then it came to me, I spoke for 15 minutes, first man to speak. And after that I said I will never speak, only 15 minutes I'll take. And I told him not to do the big mistake of going towards anti-dumping duty against China in the case of solar. And I am the man who has proposed anti-dumping duty in thermal. So interesting, right? A person writing about anti-dumping duty in thermal is saying solar mein you do not do it. And I told him, especially in the case of solar cell manufacturing and solar module, in the solar cell manufacturing and the solar ingot raw material. Because what is the thing? The moment you put anti-dumping duty, you are increasing your own cost. India has got in short time 2000 megawatt of module manufacturers. So I said, if any anti-dumping duty has to be applied, it has to be on the module manufacturer. Then I gave another idea, which was written. Actually, already my letters were gone to all the ministries. I said it is the DCR, domestic content requirement, which has to be promoted in the case of solar. Believe me or not, my friends, I spoke a lot on these issues. 15 minutes I gave, and I gave a white paper which was launched by Saurabh Patel in 2012 at the India Power Energy Conclave on solar. I handed that over. He grabbed it after the meeting, after the whole thing was over 3 hours talk. He took and he said, Iyer Sahab, this is great. We'll try to see that we implement it. And he promised in public. One was, another point he promised is interesting to tell you. I have been fighting for all these years, including my report, that National Solar Mission is meager at 20 gigawatt. Because 20 gigawatt by 2022 will only bring roughly 1.2% onto my grid in generation capacity. Because we all know solar efficiency is only 19%. Hydro, when you look at it, 58%, 55% kind of thing, you know, conversion.
85% over.
हाँ नहीं वो तो एक्सट्रीम मैं बोल रहा हूँ एक एवरेज आउट कर लीजिए आप 55 लेट्स नॉट लुक एट ROR स्टोरेज सब मिला के बैलेंसिंग 58% का तो मिल ही जाता है बट नो थर्मल एंड ऑल आर मच लोअर right? They cannot convert. The conversion efficiency I am talking in plain terms. We cannot have direct comparison, but definitely energy conversion comparison we can have. But solar has a problem, not because solar is bad, because the sun only will be available to you for that 8 hours. Bhai. And you have no capacity to store in this country. You will keep putting into the grid, that is sensible. A deficit country should not look at storage quickly. They should try to make more and put it onto the grid to balance what we are losing out in thermal. So he agreed. The mission 20 gigawatt would have brought only this. Then I had given in my white paper 50 gigawatt if you bring. Then you are bringing substantial capacity of 4.8% because in the period of roughly let us say 2022 we look at, we would be almost reaching a level of about 500 gigawatt. 400 to 500 gigawatt will be the range that will have in terms of installed capacity. So when we convert to generation, then this whole thing changes, you know, installed capacity business changes to a generation capacity business. You really realize what is the actual contribution of energy. Therein lies the answer. An actual contribution of electricity generation when it comes to, if you want to bring 4.8% generation, then you need to embrace a level of 50 gigawatt of solar on the grid. And that investment is very valid and very good because in this, it comes up very quickly in 1 year, because I always say we need everything, you know. In the green energy situation, we have to embrace certain quick solutions for base load. Basically, solar and wind are all solid state power. They cannot give peak. They are base load power. There is no peaking. And there is another problem of transient voltage. Saab bolega, they will have a lot of grid disturbances. And that we have to tackle. All this will come. We will have to tackle all this. But when I discuss all these things, today, I am very clear. without the main, I don't know what I want to call it, the heart, the pump, the core device or the core system is hydro. Without hydro, this country called India has no chance to survive. It has no gas. It will be gassed out actually if it goes after gas too much. ठीक है ना? So ये तो purchase करते करते थक जाएगा सब. So unless until if we go and negotiate with US that what they have called $2, $3 gas, shale gas, whenever commercial production of shale gas happens, some of our Johnnies in the oil and gas sector must have their foot inside the American asset. Will this be allowed? We do not know. Middle East is very clear. They are saying 10 years. I read a report from Qatar and all these Middle East fellows last week. Report says 10 years. We are not capable of giving gas beyond the next 10 years. 10 years is the path. It's finished. Game is over with the conventional natural gas, right? Because, and obviously they will say that because they are more worried what they do if they keep selling. So at some point of time they're going to become conservative and keep things for themselves. What India is doing, we will create buffer stocks. Dharmadhikari Sahab is responsible for the strategic buffer that has been created. But strategic buffer was only in the situation of war, no? We are talking of normal situation when we need peak load onto the grid. So what is the type of power that can give peak? Only this hydro, we have discussed this many times, So all these problems will bring us to square one to hydro, but not electricity alone. What about water? I was discussing in Bhutan, sir. We were talking of 8 crores per megawatt in hydro. People are making big noise, 8 crore, 9 crore. I said, even if it's 12 crore, it's cheap. Because the hard reality is you are calculating all this per megawatt. But what you're doing, you're developing everything. You're developing the dam. In many places, storage projects like Bhakra are giving so much benefits, multi-purpose. It is irrigation, it is drinking water, it is electricity. Which project on the planet will bring so much? I do not know. If not hydro, then what? So from that angle, I tell you, it is very important that we send a separate document to our Honorable Prime Minister because he needs definitely inputs, and there are good projects. He has seen it. His own Narmada project has been the finest project in the country, state of Gujarat, and that is the greatest example of what hydro can do. It has actually brought the agricultural sector of Gujarat up, and I tell you what it does. When it brings the agricultural sector up, it affects your food security. We have gentlemen from Sri Salem Dam today here. If we just analyze what is the contribution of the Sri Salem project in both hydroelectricity, in irrigation, in even drinking water, I don't think you can even imagine what it does to the average life of people, how it brings the people up. So, and best engineers of the country and the world develop hydropower. A hydro engineer is a different kind of an engineer. He's a different breed, And then what you can do is, when you destroy the opportunity of a hydro engineer, what you do is you're killing the soul of a nation. You cannot murder the souls of nations. Same way I also talk of nuclear at times. We don't like it, but nuclear also, nuclear scientists are a different lot. I remember the great statement of Homi Bhabha, who never got a Bharat Ratna. Remember that. Homi Bhabha's great statement was that he told Americans that I will never go to open cycle reactors. He adopted closed cycle reactors. And that one little step, a little dogged resistance to, I would say, open cycle reactors, resulted in India not stockpiling nuclear, I would say, spent fuel. Mostly our first stage spent fuel becomes the input of the second stage. And by the time you reach a fast breeder concept, you are actually reusing fuels. So in our country, it's only top up that you are seeing. And the rest of I was in Czech Republic in the year 2011 with Hatel. And we entered the Dukovany nuclear power plant. With whatever way, they were very pleased to have us. We went there. It's one of the finest maintained nuclear power plant, opposed by Austria, Germany, and everybody, and it's in Czech Republic. It is bordering Austria, Germany, and it is southwest of Brno, one of their industrial townships, and one of the finest nuclear power plants in terms of the way it handles waste, how cleanly it's operated. We are evidence to this, proof to this. And you know what it has done? A small village called Dukovany there is a Dukovany festival which is sponsored by the nuclear power plant. And another thing we watched is very little children, no, very small kids are brought and shown how nuclear power works and all that, that school children are brought. From the beginning only they are conditioning people and understanding, making their understanding of nuclear clear. So I interviewed because I said I want to talk to common people. Because as a journalist, I used my journalistic mind and wanted to talk to people over there. How they found this nuclear power whole thing. I was shocked. Many of the people over there, they have said to us that this is our lifeline. Dukovany is nothing without this power plant. This is our bread and butter. And one of the ladies who was working there as a, I would say, a specialist in the power plant, after retirement, she was given, because these people come for 5 hours. They don't work the full hours, but they are given, they come 5 hours, then they again come for 3 hours like that. They do staggered work, They are all retired people who worked for some 30 years plus in the nuclear power plant. They are also put on the rolls to help the plant to be kept on the best condition. So she came and she gave a little talk to us, and she said that it is almost like 4 generations of people in Czech Republic, and she says almost 20% of population that is benefited by Dukovany. Unbelievable. So I'm saying it's not only for India. Any project like this, and nuclear is clean energy, sir. Nuclear is renewable energy. Half of the people, no carbon is produced. So I think even nuclear, for that matter, this is a great, I tell you, idea. And for India, we must go nuclear. There is no question. So unfortunately, nuclear, a lot of discussion does not happen because it has other complications. But I think India is looking at large projects, especially the Mitivirdi in Gujarat itself, of the Honorable Prime Minister's state, where he was Chief Minister. 6,000 megawatt is massive. It can change the entire equation in the Veraval coastline, of India, and become the most powerful coastline, because you have Adani's 4,000 megawatt coal. You have got another 4,000 megawatt coal based project from the Ultra Mega of Tata, and if you get the 6,000, you're talking of an entire coastline, the Jamnagar, Mitivirdi, Veraval. You have very powerful coastline. And then if he brings his Kalpasa, which is an absolutely, it should be labeled as a hydro project, sir. Am I right, sir? It's a type of hydro project, bolna chahiye usko. So if he achieves Kalpasa, which was Vajpayee Saab's dream, that time. So if it comes, and Yogendra Prasad ji was involved in that. So I think that place would be probably the richest place in the country, and it will, and not only, and the world also. They would see. They would try to take example of how that drives a major economic upheaval, out there in that region. So for every place we need to, for Maharashtra, I feel somehow people have made Jetapur look like some kind of, I tell you, lot of politics is being played on Jetapur. But I had an advice. I said, why do you declare the whole 10,000? And people use it as a fear factor. Go to 2,000 and you say, we'll see after doing the first 2,000. Then I immediately feel Jetapur will also be on. So here it's a question of helping all the other type of power, ensuring, but at the top of the agenda, when we discussed the future of energy discussion in June, where many of us were there, it was a much bigger meeting, we said hydro needs to have a different treatment to begin with. Here is a multi-purpose project, this is not a power. So that's why today when we give those awards, we call it the India Hydro Awards rather than Hydro Power Awards. The word hydro was used alone so that we don't put the word, too much of power is being put, no. So India Hydro Awards needs power, water, resource mobilization, tomorrow if river navigation, you see it in a much broader, multi-purpose, multi-dimensional way. So today's meeting is basically to convey this. If we can convey all of this to the Honorable Prime Minister, I think he takes action. I hear that I wrote a letter of Subhanshiri and action is being taken. Of course, a lot of people have written. Prasad Sahab has spoken so many times. People are involved in the whole thing, But I think somewhere, if we can all send a message, and then they see more number of stakeholders wanting it, we will get all these projects into the country on the line. With this, I feel we must hear Prasad Sahab, Yogendra Prasad Sahab, absolutely the man who is responsible for the best things that happen in the country on hydropower, motivation to many people, because many people worked under Prasad Sahab and they're all here. So I think we must hear him on what he says about hydro. Please give him a big hand.
My point is that everybody talks. See, today electricity is essential, you know. But why hydro is a special thing that I want to tell you all. And I have given on Twitter also about these things. Why hydro is so important? I don't think Modi Sahib had not read it. Perhaps after becoming Prime Minister, though I have tweeted, but I don't know whether people have placed him before everything or not. But only I can tell you the fundamental issues. Just see, I don't want to talk on many things, but only thing, today grid code is there for which we are fighting since long. And the grid code first came in 2010 and the second grid code has now come in January 2014, where it says that the power supply should be maintained between 49.9 to 50.05 hertz frequency. And I have discussed with many people and many good electrical engineers also, but I have seen that more than 99% people do not understand the meaning of the grid code. It is just as important as your blood pressure. 90% people in the advanced age suffer from blood pressure. It is just the blood pressure of the power sector. People have to understand what is the meaning of the grid code. I don't want to explain the technical reasons, just try to understand. If you are supplying power at 50 hertz frequency, I have seen this is the order of grid code, a rate is fixed by the grid code. When the power supply is 50 hertz frequency, your rate of supply is about 2 rupees. This is wholesale rate. Then when it goes to the consumer, finally, the rate becomes about 5 rupees, because you have transmission cost, you have distribution cost, then finally the DISCOM company which are supplying power to the people of the country, they have to take 5%, 10% profit also. Then finally rate, what rate you are getting at the grid code, finally it goes to 2.1%, 2.2, like that. So 2 rupees, whatever you are taking, 2 rupees rate, it is going to be almost 4 rupees 50 paisa. But when this frequency goes to 49.9 hertz, your rate becomes 3 rupees 56 paisa. Means DISCOM companies have to supply you the power at least at 7 rupees 50 paise. And when the frequency goes to 49.7, the rate goes to more than 8 rupees. Means you have to supply power to the consumer at the rate of 16 rupees per kWh. And when this frequency goes to 50.05, your rate is 0. Thus I am telling you the fundamentals of the grid code. At 50.05 rate is 0. And if there is nothing going to happen with the machines of generating plants, why is this variation of the rate? Just try to understand these very, very fundamental issues. And I have tweeted many things, and I am also ready, I have given that my option to the Honorable Prime Minister that, sir, I am ready to discuss with anybody in the world. You have to try the fundamental of the power sector first. And I have given it, there is no option, it is a technical compulsion for you to have hydro project in India, because for maintaining the grid frequency, normally you have 4 types of generation: thermal, nuclear, hydro and gas power plant. Then what happens? In alone thermal, you can't maintain this grid frequency. If anybody, any engineer have any doubt, he can question me. Then I can give the details why he can't maintain. You can't maintain this frequency range with the help of thermal or nuclear. They are best designed for base load only. They are high speed machines. Fuel supply in thermal power plant, I'm telling you, when you are supplying coal, you have to produce, estimate a particular temperature. When road reduction is there, or whether road is surplus, then you have to change the supply of coal. For that, then you add the fuel separately to maintain that temperature. Because if you are not maintaining that temperature, you can't generate so much power, you can't have efficiency of the machine like that. But in a hydro sector, you have only one fuel. From the dam you have to release water. And here you can pick up 100% load, 110% load within minutes. At least everybody knows in a thermal power plant, once power generation is reduced or sometimes closed, then still you have to burn 30% fuel just to keep the boiler in a position to start. And after that, it takes 4-5 hours to start. Just I have given you a short example. And if anybody has any doubt, he question me. But it is not the case with hydro. It starts within minutes. So what we need, and then you will question if there is no hydro in any particular country, how they are maintaining their power supply. Because they have got gas. You must go to the history, old history. In 1952, we were just equal to China. India's power position was similar to that of China in 1952. And we are also near to Korea. Korea does not produce anything but only because of power and electronic equipment, they are earning a lot of money. So what happens, we actually need hydro in India. Why? We don't have gas. For gas, we are depending on the import, where it will not be cost effective. Because after all, unless today power is input for everything, it is prime mover for everything. Once the input cost is high, then product will be very high. You can't compete in the world market. But God has given us lot of opportunity for developing hydropower plants. As Einstein has to say, because we have opportunity, but any good thing needs lot of effort to produce power. So here what happens in hydro, it is not easy. Thermal, you have prototype. You want to install here 200 megawatt, you can install. Same design, same thing. But in hydro sector, design is always different. Every hydro sector is a separate design. Now what you need, what is the fundamental of electricity? First you have to understand that electricity you can't store. You have to, whatever you are producing, you have to consume. Otherwise, solar would have been the best option for this country, because you can't have so much battery, so much arrangement of battery bank. And he used to give lot of time, and I made him understand fundamental of electricity. After that, he took me to the Bajpayee ji. Even today, Jayantiben Mehta, she is already there in a position she can talk. She knows, she was Minister of State at that time. Just I am telling you, in this country, after 49 years of independence, hydro policy was formulated for the first time. You might be hearing in the newspaper the hydrothermal mix should be 40-60. But why it should be, many engineers don't answer. Now the question was that I explained personally in presence of Kumar Mangalam Sahab and Jayantiben Mehta in detail to Honorable Prime Minister of that time, Mr. Bajpayee ji. Then he could understand. Kumar Mangalam Sahab helped a lot, but unfortunately he is not alive now. And after that, he put lot of push, and at that time, hydrothermal mix was 21 to 79%. 21% hydro, 79% thermal. Bajpayee ji wanted that immediately the ratio of hydro should be increased, only would understand, And Kumar Mangalam Sahab was our minister. Everything was started on war footing almost. And by the end of 2004, hydro was brought to 27%, thermal had gone down to 73%. Just I'll give you the history. And this thing I have tweeted on my Facebook and Twitter. I have sent it to the Prime Minister also. I have written to Mr. Piyush Goyal, the present Minister of Power also, that if you want to understand how to improve power sector, I am ready to suggest you without any cost. But ministers, when they come with a lot of ego, because government officials, you have to make them understand that I will do that. They know that they have 500,000 engineers in this country, they will be able to survive. They are rising them, but they will come, they will call me, and I'll tell them, unless you do that, you can't survive. Country survival is today in problem. Today I was having a call from America. They were asking, Mr. Prasad, now Prime Minister is coming tomorrow, he is going to give a lecture, but you tell us what about power sector, because I have given some time, I have been to America, where I was given already citizenship also, and there also on the frequency issue I have spoken. At that time many engineers know me there. They have asked me, what about the power sector? Only you just ask Prime Minister. Can he have an agreement that he can give interruption-free power to India at least for 1 hour or 4 hours continuously, 4 hours continuously? If this government, because we have got a most visionary Prime Minister today, he understands the meaning of development, but fundamental issues people have not explained as yet. That is why, once he let him return back from America, once discussion will take place, then we can make him understand that what is the value of this grid code and what is the value of this power sector and hydro sector. Just I am telling you, yesterday only I had discussion with the chairperson of the CAS. He had gone to his guest house, BMB, Chandigarh. I was there yesterday for another work. I discussed with her, Madam, why this national policy, which is the duty of the CA, are not being prepared properly? Then she just told me, Mr. Prasad, you know, we are preparing this thing every year, but this is not mandatory for the government. And then what for CA is there? Then tell that the CA and CWC should not be there. What is that? When I was chairman from those days, I am crying. At that time, in 49, this is your 15, 20 years ago, what was happening? Frequency was varying between 1 hertz up and down. After that, lot of damages were taking place with the machines of NTPC or NHPC. Repairing cost was coming to more than 10 to 15%. After that, regulatory regime came. It was started from Kumar Mangalam time also, there should be regulation. Now today what is happening? Why this grid code? Just I am telling you meaning. Today, all machines or generating plants are allowed only 1% on account of repairing of the machine. This is the cost. Generator is being allowed by the regulatory commission, which is a legal body. And that's why everybody asked them there should be grid code, and finally grid code came. Now today, if you are not supplying power within that grid code, your costs have to increase. So now what is happening, that for following the grid code, if grid code you don't follow, your plant will be damaged, genetic plant will be damaged, because it is synchronous machine. I have to understand. And on frequency, the speed of the machine depends. And thermal and nuclear machines are high speed machines. Their speed is more than about 3000 RPM. Even 0.0 hertz, 0.1 hertz frequency is deferred. Speed, how much it differs, you can calculate. Hydro is low speed machines. It can sustain even frequency variation up to 1 hertz. But thermal machines can't. Nuclear can't. And today, machines are being designed at optimum value, because you have to cut the cost of the machines also. You cannot spend any amount, whatever you want. And now just see the fundamental of the engineering and subject. You are charging from the consumer a particular rate, 5 rupees, 6 rupees. And if you are going to draw power beyond 49.9, what will happen? Finally, you will be in loss. And as a result of this, today in the entire country except Gujarat, all discoms are in loss. Everybody has become bankrupt. Why Gujarat is not there? Because Gujarat total requirement of power is 12 to 15,000 megawatt. Gujarat somehow, because of a visionary leader like Modi, has the total installed capacity of 24,791 megawatt in a state only, private plus a state generation. And center, whatever centers, NTPC, NHPC or other organizations, central government are giving, that about comes to about 2,000 megawatt. Now today what is happening? Everything is connected to national grid. But Gujarat is not drawing from that because it has own shares generation more than the requirement, and they are selling to outside. And the advantage is that Gujarat also does not have hydro. They have only 750 megawatt reservoir type hydropower plants from Sardar Sarovar. But they have 5,000 megawatt of gas power plant. Total gas power plant in the country is about 15,000 megawatt. Total in the country, out of that 5,000 is only Gujarat. So Gujarat has sufficient power to meet the peak load, because I have told you the hydro or gas. Gujarat has sufficient gas to meet its requirement, but it can't meet the requirement of the country. For the country, you need to import gas, or you have to find out the way and let the ONGC and other organizations which are doing for they drill the gases, and if they get gas, that is another solution. So I have suggested to the Prime Minister through my Twitter that immediately to meet the requirement of power, because hydro, whatever effort you make, it will not be done in less than 7 to 10 years. Because in gas and solar you can do in less than 2 years time. Then I have suggested that let us develop more and more solar, and you have to arrange by cutting the subsidy of other sectors, bring gas through imports, and gas power plants should also be increased, so that you can meet the variable load of the country. Daytime solar can manage, evening through gas and nuclear or thermal, you can meet the requirement of the country, so that people can get power at affordable cost. They are not, because once you are going to vary the frequency, you are going to pay very high rate, and you are signing with the consumers a fixed rate. Here you are taking supply at variable rate. Just try to understand grid code. You are taking supply from the system, from national grid. You don't have shortage of power in the national grid. You are taking power from national grid at variable rate. You are supplying at fixed load rate. Now what is the way out? Except cutting the lines. Now what happening today, the fundamental thing I have given, I have written also to the government, you kindly depute your IB man, vigilance man to different villages of the country, and just see, people are not getting 1 hour interruption free power. Just I am telling you frankly, I have moved at least more than 50% area of the Bihar and UP, and I have seen it personally. And when I have taken that figure from the Ministry of Power, it is on the website of the ministry. From there I have taken the figure, and I have seen that what has happened, that Bihar has the total installed capacity today. Do you know? You just abuse the politician of Bihar. It has only, because after some thermal projects were there in the Jharkhand state, but Bihar has only 323. And I have tweeted that Bihar cannot meet 1 hour requirement of power, 1 hour requirement of power from its own resources. So they are depending on national grid. Now they are drawing power at higher cost, lower cost, and what is happening? LIC boards are going on loss. They are simply cutting the power to the people. Now where the state will go? Similarly, in UP, the total installed capacity is 9,000 megawatt. But try to see the effective capacity. Because that you have to understand, not 9,000, but what is plant load factor? It is less than 40%. And plant load factor of Gujarat is more than 80%. Just try to understand. Actually, Modi Sahab, because he has done in spite of so much adverse situation, Modi Sahab has done so good things for the country, but he is not able to do those things because he has not understood what is happening in Bihar, what is happening in UP, what is happening in Tamil Nadu, what is happening in Bengal. So just I am telling you, try to understand fundamental of the power. Everybody knows, all are experts here sitting. And just I am going to tell you that if this is the situation, how we are going to improve the country. If some industries people are coming, FDI is coming and giving money to India, but how they will run their factories? Just tell me. Because they will not get power. Now what is happening in the agriculture sector? Today people want to produce from agriculture field lot of grains. They want irrigation water. They are engaging the laborers. But after 1 hour power gets cut. Then what is happening? Finally labor is sitting idle, he has to be paid. What is wrong with that labor who is making the payment? They have come for the work. Similarly with the industry, there are many industries where we need all the time power. That's why I have written to the government that don't tell that you can provide, because I have tried to make Modi Sahab understand the problems really being faced by this country. Today the installed capacity of all the states except Gujarat is so less that they are not able to meet their 50% of the requirement of power. They are depending on the center. And if anybody has any doubt, kindly tell me if I am wrong. In that condition, in different rates, how the Discom company will come to profit? If Discom company will not come to profit, how do you feel that you are going to save this country? Just I am telling you, and for any issue, the power consumption is the indicator of prosperity of any country in the world. As IS has explained already regarding GDP and the installed capacity, just I am telling him, today, world average consumption of power, world average, even you can add Libya, you can add African country, everything, is 2,800 per kWh. Whereas for India, it is 800. And that is 800 only because of some blessings of Punjab, because of Bhakra-Nangal project, that Haryana, that Gujarat and all the places. Bihar and UP has power consumption of less than 200 kWh. If I am wrong, all learned people are sitting here, just tell me. If this is the situation, with the population of more than 20 crore in UP and 10 crore in Bihar, what is going to happen to this nation? How do you can say that you can achieve everything? These things have to be made very clear. But I have also tweeted, the government officers are not doing past duty by not telling the facts to the government. But nobody wants to tell. This fundamental, just see, after 49 years of the independence, when Vajpayee ji could understand everything, then only this hydro policy was made, just ask anybody. And when Vajpayee ji time, it went to 27%. Today you know what has happened in last 10 years. The entire priority was shifted to thermal, this coal. What has happened finally? Today the ratio is 10%, 16% to 84%. 16% is the only renewable hydrogen which can meet the variable load. and 84% is the thermal, nuclear, all combined. How you can meet the demand of the power in the country? And these facts I have tried to bring to the knowledge of the Honorable Prime Minister. And let me see when he will discuss, and tell him that you can see the figures of your country, because everything is on fingertips today. Then how people will get power? I have also told him that you put your IB, put your intelligence people to all remote areas of the Bihar, UP and other states and see how much power interruption is there. Because he has not seen in Gujarat, because of he is a visionary man, and in spite of adverse situation, he has changed the shape of Gujarat by bringing a lot of power. There is no cut of power. So he is feeling it is the situation in entire India. Now just see, we have potential of more than 7 lakh megawatt power through hydro. And we have developed only 40,000. China has developed more than 7 lakh, though we are together in 1952. How much efforts they have made? I think many of you might have gone to see the Three Gorges project. And my one friend, Mr. Thareja, is here. Just ask him. He has been the expert of the hydro sector, and he worked in CWC. And even after seeing of the Three Gorges project, the efforts China has brought in developing their project in such a remote area, they made the airport also. And here people are just putting a lot of objections. Even Lohari Nagpala project of the Uttarakhand, Mr. Giri was there, just ask him. Transmission line was made. More than 50% tunnel was dug. When lining was to be started by NTPC, after all, national money, not just individuals' money. Our project was stopped because of Sadhu Mahatma wanted that Ganga will become impure. What Ganga will become impure? They are having their bathrooms in the Ganga. Just go and see from Gangotri to Hardwar what is happening. Everybody having their bathrooms, all the Hindus in the Ganga itself. They are talking of cleaning of Gangas. So it is very difficult to save this nation unless people understand the fundamental issues. See, for development, you have to work very, very hard. And today, if you are not going to work, this electricity is going to take it will going to teach the every politician of our country. Whatever you are talking is not correct. Because of computerization, modernization, now you are depending on electricity. Now your job is depending on the electricity. And as a result, everybody will get unemployed, all the educated people will get unemployed. What happened? Finally, the civil war will come to this country. But today, Modi Sahib has not understood the real problem as yet. I have written the government, if in 10 years' time, if 12 hours interruption-free power is given to people of India, interruption-free, I mean no interruption for a minute. Interruption-free power is given to India. In that case only, prosperity will come. Then everybody should salute this government in 10 years.
Right, sir.
If it gives interruption-free power to India. Just see, as you are talking three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. It is similarly, your generation, you have transmission, then you have distribution. Whenever there is blackout, whenever discussion starts on TV, people used to save the government. There I have given an article, Health of Indian Power System and its Impact on Indian Economy. It is on my website also. You can read that article. I have given after that 50 days. There was blackout in this country. Shinde Sahib was Power Minister. After that, as a reward, he was made Home Minister of the country. And he has given a statement, even this thing happens in America also. The way storms are coming in America, if it comes in India, you will not get power for years. Just try to understand what is disaster arrangement with us. When the frequency is very high, 50.05, at that time, you are ready to give power of zero cost. What is the reason? High frequency is also at least damaging for the system, or low is also damaging for the system. Then we have been the potential of 1 lakh megawatt of pump storage scheme. And we have developed only 4,000 till date because of ignorance, understand, because you don't understand. Fundamental of engineering nobody understands in this country. When I am talking to the 90% engineers, they don't understand easily the fundamentals of engineering. I have seen it. The whole thing is that people are not saying, night, your load is cut, some storm has come. Then you have to run the generator. You can't run the generator high frequency. You need load. From where you are doing the load unless you have the pump storage schemes? And from our country, many people are going to the foreign countries, moving here and there. Why they are not going to understand these fundamentals? Once I have been to Sacramento in America, and that grid was buying power at $17 per megawatt hour from pump storage, and selling at $2.5 per megawatt hour. I just questioned them. They told that if we have frequency variation of 0.5 hertz at that time, then immediately you have to get out of our generators. And at that time, I sent that article to India also, that shall see how good frequency they are maintaining. And when I came here, at that time in Hindustan Times, it is there. Badrinath was the press reporter. He has written that Mr. Prasad has mentioned that public sectors are bleeding white bloods because of variation in frequency. When there was a meeting in the Ministry of Power, we have, I don't want to name him, but he was a secretary, technical secretary. He started telling, Mr. Prasad, you were talking about the frequency. NTPC machines are designed for 2.5 hertz frequency. I just told him, I am talking to an engineer. And at that time, CA people, Mr. Bajaj was also there, CA chairman, other people were there. Everybody just simply laughing. That's all, they could not understand. I was thinking, why to tell boss, secretary is telling something wrong? What is going on in this country? But that is why I am telling that we should not surrender from the fundamental. We are not trying to understand the fundamentals. I have tweeted that because fundamentals are not clear before the DISCOMs company. That is why they had gone there, they become bankrupt. Now what is happening to this country? Because as I told that regarding coal also, you have heard it, you have seen the verdict of the government. Now 4 lakh crore of banks' money will become NPA. From where this coal miners is going to pay for that? Now finally, now coal is also in problem. Hydro is not increasing, and hydro you cannot do in less than 7 to 10 years time. Whatever may come. Because today, even NHPC was the premier organization for hydro development. CWC was made for design and CA for that. Now, NHPC has been finished. Even Calcutta High Court has given order in 1987, 89 perhaps, that technical people should only be considered for CMD post of the NHPC. It is order of the Calcutta High Court. In spite of that, they were waiting for my retirement. Why Mr. Prasad let him complete 60 years quickly, so that we can order for more coal projects, all these things, and they immediately retired me. Otherwise, you retired me, but you finished the country. Now finally what happened? A finance man was appointed as chairman of the NHPC. And in 5 years, he finished the design wing of the NHPC. And finally, and then since then, 4 years have passed, we don't have a regular CMD for NHPC. And now what has happened? Mostly the design engineers resigned from NHPC, they went to the private, neither they are there, neither they are here. Just see the position. Now, CWC most expert design engineer Mr. Thareja is here. Just Thareja, kindly stand up for a minute for people and see who, just for my request. Because he is the one of the, please for a minute. He is the one of the best design engineers of hydro sector whom I have encountered in this country. Because we used to fight from NHPC always on the design part for while clearing the projects during my time as CMD. And just I am telling you how much labor their CWC engineers were doing at that time. And every hydro project is a separate design. And lot of complicated designs are there. Now just see how competent our engineers, even in this entire country, because of design problems where CWC has seen, NHPC has seen, no dam has been or got damaged in spite of whatever be the flood's position, whatever be the situation. Just see, we have excellent engineers in this country, but they are not being respected because babus are very important. Because they are near the ministers. They used to explain them. And whatever they say, what is this honesty going on in this country? So, just I am telling you, because it is not gathering of the general people, all educated people are here. And if people say that I have anywhere wrong, that's why as today I concentrated on the grid code. Let grid code be understood by everybody that there is something wrong with the frequencies. If frequencies are not maintained, generator will get damaged. Now transmission line. I'm just explaining some transmission lines. Just see, we don't have spare transmission lines. Blackouts you cannot avoid. Nobody in the world, whatever God has given, God even has given us 2 kidneys. 1 kidney is enough for our life. But God has given us 2 kidneys. If 1 kidney gets damaged, another kidney will help us. Similarly, for saving the system of anywhere in the world, you can see we have 50% spares at least in form of transmission. Because see, rain will come, adverse situation will come, lightning will come. Sometimes transmission line will get damaged. Just see, for example, there are 3 transmission lines, double circuit, 220 kV line is there, carrying about 1000 megawatt. If one line gets damaged, at least 2 lines can take balance load. If 2 gets damaged, then no out. But repairing is not so easy immediately. That's why we have to have at least 50% spares. Unless we have 50% spares, we can't have any disaster management for us. And power sector being so important, if you see, disaster management is not there in transmission lines in our country. You can find out. It is not there at all. Then third thing, whatever power you are generating is to be transmitted, then it has to be consumed. Just understand, it is energy. It's not going to be stored. It has to be consumed. So, distribution system should be very, very perfect. Now what is happening in this country? Distribution system is most savvy, and we are having distribution lines of any length without any study. More than, if you are going to have more than 100 meter, 200 meter distribution lines, voltage gets so dropped that you can't get good voltage, and finally you can't get satisfactory power. And if this one line gets disturbed with a small storm, immediately your consumption will not be there, frequency will get high. Then you have to shut down your generator, and thermal generators if you are going to shut down, you have to burn 30% fuel. That is why in this country reservoir type hydro projects is required, because in reservoir type hydro project what will happen, whenever you need energy immediately you can generate. And when your frequency is high because of damages of your transmission lines and distribution system, you can provide load through pump storage. From lower reservoir to higher reservoir, you can bring the water and then generate. Just see, if pump storage schemes are not required, in pump storage schemes, you consume 100% power and you generate 70% power approximately. If frequency would not have been very, very important, this pump storage scheme design would not have come in the world at all. And just go and see London, see Russia, China, America, how much pump storage schemes they have made, how much spare capacity of transmission they have made. And that's why I have suggested the government, at least you are going to have model towns, and at least you have capital towns like Delhi, Bombay, Madras. Everywhere distribution system should be underground, whatever be the cost. Otherwise, you are not going to have power, interruption-free power. Talking is otherwise, but be practical. So this way, I've explained to you everything about the grid code, that what is this meaning. And when you are having variable rate for frequency, according to frequency, then you are having fixed load. At least then you have 49.50.05 at least a particular rate. Otherwise, DISCOM will be in loss all the time. Just tell me if anybody has doubt on this, my assumption, you can ask me. Then how it can be, when you are buying material in the wholesale on various rates, when there is demand in the market, then rate is very high, demand no, there is low. But you can sell in fixed cost, they will be on the loss. Gujarat is the only state where they have surplus power, and as a result, they are not buying power from the grid, and they are comfortable. But now, that's why I have written to Modi Sahab, that now you are Prime Minister of India, and you are a visionary leader. At least you have to understand the fundamentals of the power sector. And unless you are going to bring back this hydro sector with reservoir and pump storage schemes, which not been done at all, things are not going to improve. And since last 10 years, the way the damages have been done by the UPA government, the power sector, it is irreparable damage. Even working on war footing, in 10 years, you can bring 50% relief. If somebody is telling, any minister is telling that in 5 years or 10 years, I can give you 24 hours power, at least it is impossible, whether I live in this world or not, but you can note down that nobody on the earth, even God's blessings are showered, 24 hours interruption-free power, can't give today's condition the way power sector has been damaged by the mismanagement of the different government. Because in any democratic system, it is the government which has the ultimate power. But it is the duty of all technical personnel to tell the truth. A spade should be called the spade. But only thing, when you talk to the top people in the working the government, they say, I want to take my pension, go and sleep silently. But after all, God has made the human being most wise people in the world, and they should not behave like that. Otherwise, they are not more than the animals. With these words, I have tried to explain you grid code. On every question, whatever questions you have, you can ask me. I like to explain.